I'm here tonight to talk to you about reverse engineering your success when you're starting your natural hair brand. So, what I mean by that is that I get a lot of questions from people maybe who have started their brand in the past and they say, well, it just isn't selling. I just don't know how to make sales move. Or I prefer to get that question before someone starts their brand, because the things I'm going to share with you are really, really critical to helping you start off in the right way. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead to the presentation and we are going to get into it. And I'm afraid I don't have a mic. I'm pretty sure that I'm loud enough for you to hear me. I promised to have a mic for the next webinar, but things got chaotic getting ready for the workshop and I just didn't replace my mic yet. So I promise to do that in the next day or two so that we have a mic for the next webinar. Alrighty, let me share this screen. Okay, so we are going to go right to the presentation. I should have brought that up beforehand, sorry. It will be just a second while I get that presentation. Here it is. Okay, so here we are. So today we're talking about reverse engineering your steps for success with your natural hair brand. This is going to make marketing so much easier for you because your heart will be in it. You'll be putting your heart and so much knowledge and research into your formulation that when you're talking about your products, it becomes so much easier to talk about them, because usually people are afraid of this marketing step. They're afraid of feeling sleazy or slimy if they are self-promoting too much. Especially women are afraid of this. I know that there may be a gentleman or two on my list or people who are watching this who are male, but I'm guessing that most of my subscribers are female, and we're just taught not to be too salesy. And we don't want to become that person. Well, what makes women very suitable for the profession of having a beauty brand and marketing their beauty brand is we love to be of service. So we can take that training we have and we can make it work to our advantage while actually benefiting people. So I'll be talking about how you can do sales as service, but it all starts, believe it or not, with your formula. This is why I encourage people to learn how to formulate. Even if you choose to work with a chemist, it is so beneficial to fully understand your formula, to really be engaged with your formula, to really be committed and in love with your formula. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Now, if you're on my list, you know that I've talked in the past about how to identify a niche. You have to have a niche. You have to have an area in the market that you are focused on. There's a saying that an eagle that chases two rabbits misses both of them. Well, you can't have a formula that you claim is for everyone, because the only thing that is for everyone is water. Okay, that's the only formula that works for everyone universally. So you really want to sort of pick a hair type or a hair issue, and you want to focus on being the person that solves that issue, being an authority in that area where people with that kind of hair type or that kind of issue, if as soon as they ask someone, where can I get this kind of conditioner or this shampoo or this cleanser, this oil treatment for my hair type or for my hair issue, immediately people raise their hands and point at you. So that's what you really want to focus on. And how do you do that? I'm just going to summarize this because if you're on my list, I've already sent an audio out to that effect. And if you're not on my list, I'll put a link in the description box below so you can join, so you can benefit from all these free audios and free workshops that I do for my list. But go to the forums. Some good forums to go to are Curly Nikki, Reddit, Black Girl Long Hair, for example. And you want to go into these forums and you look up topics on natural hair. And then you look at the questions that come up. Look at what people are struggling with. Look at what people are complaining about. And also look at what people are raving about and why they're raving about it. Okay? And then that way you start to see where there are gaps in the market. Maybe for people who have problem scalp things, whether it be alopecia, whether it be psoriasis of the scalp, whether it be dandruff, maybe moms suffering, with trying to figure out cradle cap, babies that are living in a really dry climate. Who knows? There's always an issue that is overlooked and under-addressed, and that's usually a good starting point. You can look at YouTube videos and you can look at blogs and you can see what some of the bloggers are saying their struggle was when they first went natural. What was their journey like? People who had hair loss, people who, maybe it's an esteem issue. Maybe your brand isn't necessarily just about the hair, but it's about your hair esteem. Maybe that's your brand personality. Another place to look for clues is product reviews. Amazon, Naturally Curly or Curl Mart is their beauty brand marketplace. Target.com, Walgreens.com, CVS.com, all these places have lots of natural hair products that they're selling. And in those marketplaces online are reviews. And in those reviews, you learn so much about what people are struggling with and what they're complaining about. So you want to look at those places and sort of get a clue of where you're going to go in. And then, of course, probably the most overlooked place to look for a clue as to what niche you're being called to serve in is in your own story. If you have a story of overcoming some kind of hair issue or scalp issue, that is a tremendous, place of authenticity to come from in your marketing. Okay. So your own story, whether it be you're an athlete and you wanted something that would keep your hair healthy through frequent washing, or you only want to keep your hair short and you want products that work for really short hair, or you're a mom and, like my story was for my brand, I was a mom and I lived in the desert and I had kids whose hair texture was completely different from mine. So when I was doing things that worked for my 4C dreads, it just didn't work for their hair type. So I really had to kind of journey into figuring out how to take care of their hair type and keep it hydrated and healthy in the desert. Toxic products that were being recommended to me. So, that's where my journey came from. And I found out there were a lot of moms who were in the same predicament. Okay. So that's just a clue on how to find a niche and stick to it. And now I'm going to use an example of an actual picking a niche and how you would reverse engineer success into that. Because, I can say that until, I'm purple with green dots in the face, but what does reverse engineering your success even mean? Like, what does that mean? Why does she keep saying that? Well, let's look at what that looks like with a real example. Okay, so one of my favorite topics is dandruff. You're gonna be like, what? That's gross. Who wants to talk about dandruff? Well, I do, because I am a chronic sufferer of dandruff since my teenage years. Honestly, it was really in my teenage years, I got a perm. I got a jerry curl, in fact. Don't laugh. And And ever since then, my scalp has never been normal. Okay. So I really, really suffer from dandruff in this way. And so I'm always looking for natural solutions because I like natural things for dandruff. I'm too busy with my own brands. I have some people that I make private label wholesale products for. I just haven't created a dandruff brand. Maybe one day I will, but I keep saying it in the hope that one of my lovely, amazing, intelligent students will do it, or someone listening on the internet will do it, and not include no ingredients in it so we can all use it. So dandruff is a huge, huge issue. And if you have it, you are obsessed with hiding it. Okay. So if you don't have dandruff, you don't think about it. But for people who have dandruff, they really, really struggle with it and they're obsessed with hiding it because there's nothing grosser than seeing flakes on someone's scalp, on someone's shoulders, especially in a professional setting. Okay. Even though it's not dirt, it makes people look dirty and feel dirty. So, you know, if you go to a drugstore, if you go to a Target, at least in the United States, CVS, Walgreens, there is a whole aisle dedicated just to dandruff. Okay, if you doubt the market value of it, Head and Shoulders has like a whole bay of just selections of dandruff shampoo. You know, not one or two. It's not the same one that's covering the whole bay. They have like 3 or 4, maybe even more now. And right below it is Target's version or Walmart's version of the knockoff of that same formula, right? So that's how important a market share that dandruff enjoys. But we can all agree that the ingredients in a lot of these conventional shampoos, if you're even remotely aware of toxicity of products, they leave you wanting, okay? And so for me, once I went natural, not not just natural in my hair, but natural in my food choices and my lifestyle choices, I just couldn't do Head and Shoulders anymore. It was very painfully obvious that I had to find a better way, okay? So, so if you're having a natural lifestyle, then you want natural products in your natural hair. So a lot of the offerings out there for dandruff, you can look in the forums if you like, or in the product reviews like I instructed you before. But right now I'm just speaking from my own experience. A lot of them are designed for straight hair. Okay, so for Caucasian type hair that requires daily washing. And our hair type, even with my short teeny weeny afro that I need to go get cut right now, we can't wash our hair with shampoo every single day. But when you have dandruff, you really need to wash more frequently. But even so, every single day is a little too harsh for the actual hair, even if it's great for your scalp. Okay, so we don't shampoo our hair every day, or at least we shouldn't. The products that are out there for dandruff specifically tend to be extremely drying for natural Afro-textured hair. And when you don't wash your hair daily, or you reapply your leave-in products between washes, there's usually buildup because the products that are designed as leave-in products for dandruff, because they're designed for Caucasian hair, many of them, they actually aren't designed for leaving in your hair for 3 to 5 days. So, that you have an issue with buildup. And if you don't sort of moisturize your hair every day, when you have a, short 4C afro, it gets dry. I mean, it's just a conundrum dealing with this situation. And then there's the natural products that we love, but they have the freaking citrus oils in them. And I'm telling you, please don't formulate your products for Black people with citrus oils, okay? Just don't do it, because 50%, it could be fewer, but it's really close to 50%. Maybe it's even more of dark-skinned people are photosensitive to citrus oils, which means if you have citrus oils on your scalp or on your face and you go out in the sun, you have a reaction. So a lot of people think that they're allergic to citrus oils. They probably aren't really allergic to citrus oils. They just have this photosensitivity and they don't realize it. I know that I am very photosensitive to citrus oils. I cannot have it anywhere above my neck. But on my body, I can use a body butter with citrus oils, or a body wash or soap with citrus oils, or a perfume. I just have to be wearing long sleeves. Okay. So I will use those in the winter. And in the winter, it's kind of nice and refreshing and has that, the energy of optimism that citrus oils have. However, in the summer, it's a no, I won't go anywhere near a citrus oil because I live in Arizona. It's hot. My arms are going to be bare. Occasionally, my legs below the knee are going to be, exposed. And I don't want a rash behind some citrus oils. So when you formulate with citrus oils, you are taking the chance of excluding people, a huge swath of people, just because you wanted to put citrus oils. And citrus oils are actually great for dandruff, and great for scalp conditions. But if you have a reaction to citrus oils, it's not going to help you. So, and the problem also is that a lot of people don't understand why they're allergic to citrus oils, or that they're even allergic to citrus oils. They'll just walk around saying that your product gave them a breakout, which is even worse than saying they're allergic to the citrus oils in your product. Because then it sounds like the problem is with your product, when really the problem is a lack of knowledge on both of your parts. Maybe you didn't educate them enough. Maybe they don't know enough. Don't use citrus oils. I beg of you. It's not worth it. Okay. Same applies to skincare. So in terms of the chemical offerings, the most glaring problem is that the ingredient list is just horribly toxic. Okay, I won't read what I wrote because it is going on YouTube, and maybe you have little kids around or whatever, but you don't want an ingredient list that reads like a conventional dandruff shampoo. Okay, if you're natural, just toxic, stay away. In a moment of desperation, you can be like, oh, I'm just going to get the anti-dandruff shampoo just this once, or, I'm traveling and I don't have my normal stuff. You get sucked into that aisle. And then you end up with this whole bottle. You use it. It works. You use it to wash frequently, and it does sort of alleviate the dandruff issue, but it massacres your hair. A lot of those products have sulfates in them. They're not designed for black hair. And so it leaves your hair looking and feeling really dry. The citrus oils destroy your scalp and face when the product is a natural product. Even if it's for black natural hair, I've seen black natural hair products, that are supposed to be, scalp helping or scalp balancing, that have citrus oils. And then, there's all the carcinogens in the shampoo or in the conditioner, and you're just kind of ignoring it, pretending that they aren't really that strong, when really, it's just getting sucked into your bloodstream. And not to mention getting back acne and body acne from some of the silicones in those conditioners, because silicones in and of themselves aren't necessarily horrible. They work pretty well for straight hair, but I do find that for most people, silicones are pore clogging. Okay, so a lot of people end up with acne of their body from using conditioners and shampoos with silicones, because when you wash that down in the shower, it's going somewhere. It's not like it's just going to go straight in the sink, unless you're at the hairdressers and your head is back in the sink. So every underserved problem in beauty is a golden opportunity for you. This is where you come in. And I don't want you to be sort of afraid of going into a niche because you think that niche is too small, that it's too narrow, it's too focused, there aren't going to be enough customers in there for you. Oftentimes, the narrower the niche, the more lucrative it is, because a lot of people have stayed away from it because they think that same thing, that it's going to be too small. And so you get to flood that market with your solution. The second thing is, the more specialized you are, the more specific you are, the more your customer is attracted to you. Okay, so people make a killing on the teeniest, tiniest of niches. So don't be fooled by thinking that a community is too small and that you won't get any customers. And also with the internet, the world is big now. I was amazed by how many people found me from different countries. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, in the United States, but I've spoken in the past few weeks on my free calls to people from 3 continents. I've spoken to people in the United Kingdom. I have a call scheduled with someone from Saudi Arabia, a person from Zimbabwe, a person from Nigeria. I'm just waiting for some people from the islands. I'm sure eventually I'll speak to someone from there, and all over the States. Okay, so you don't know who's going to find you and who's going to want to order your product. When I was doing my soft launch for Ogbu, my own personal line, I had people from Australia asking me to send them product. I just wouldn't do it because I didn't want to charge them $40 for shipping, which is what it would cost me, $40 to $80, depending on how many products I send. But, if you have a certain price point and people are willing to pay that much shipping, you don't know who's going to find you. So don't exclude yourself from a niche by thinking that it's too small before you've even investigated it. All right, so another thing that we are looking for when we're formulating for dandruff shampoo, let's just pretend that you went on the forums and you found out all the things that people are afraid of or don't want. So in the prior slide, we talked about, we don't want citrus oils. We don't want silicones. We don't want sulfates because they dry the hair. The silicones are bad for the skin and scalp. And the citrus oils can be reactive on the scalp and face. And the other issue is, if you have a natural afro-textured hair, if it's short, the shorter it is, the more frequently you're going to need to wash it, right? So you want something that someone can use to wash their hair frequently, but that is not going to be drying. And you also want something that's sufficiently moisturizing and scalp balancing for longer hair that can't be washed frequently. So that, if it's balancing enough, they can wash their hair every 4 days instead of every other day. That really helps someone with dandruff if you can find something that does that. It needs to be a product that moisturizes effectively, which is an issue for all natural hair. It has to be something that does not create buildup, because buildup is the enemy of dandruff. And it either has to accommodate texture differences or be texture specific. I prefer texture specific. So if you're going to make an anti-dandruff shampoo for type 4C hair, brilliant. If you're going to make an anti-dandruff shampoo for type 3C or kinky curly hair type 3B, 3C, but be specific. That's going to actually be more helpful than trying to be all over the place. You can kind of tend to get away with being more all over the place with a shampoo, but never with a conditioner. Conditioners need to be specific. Obviously, it needs to be natural. I'm only teaching people how to make natural things. If you want to use really super toxic things, then you can go to a chemist, but I think that the way the world is going, everything is going to move towards all natural. One day, 20 years from now or sooner, Head and Shoulders is going to be a natural product, because that's where the market is going. So you might as well go to where the market is going and meet it there, rather than trying to stay in the dark ages where it is now. Protective styling products that are not sticky, okay? Because anything that's sticky is going to, cause buildup, and also they will require frequent washing, which goes back to the other problem of, when you have natural hair, you don't want to wash too frequently. But when you have dandruff, you also need to wash more frequently than other natural hair people because you have dandruff. So, finding a balance of protective styling products that have that same hold and that same moisture that aren't too heavy. So, at minimum, your anti-dandruff line should have these 3 products, okay? A clarifying shampoo, absolutely. You can either do that or a clarifying vinegar rinse, but you have to have some kind of clarifying cleanser. And a clarifying shampoo is something that most people can understand and get behind. An oil treatment is also a great idea, either marketed as a pre-poo or an oil rinse or however you want to do it. You could have 2 oil treatments if you wanted to, one that was a finishing oil for the scalp and hair, and one that was a treatment oil that's kind of heavier, that's designed to rinse out or wash out. Or you can just have a 2-in-1. But definitely a shampoo or cleanser, definitely an oil, okay? And preferably a multitasking conditioner. So a conditioner that can be used as a co-wash in between washes, that can be used as a rinse out conditioner on heavy wash days, or a deep conditioner. If you really super want to get fancy, it could be a leave-in, but I think that just having a 3-in-1 general conditioner is good enough, and then you can have a leave-in treatment beyond that. If you are really being fancy, you can create multiple categories. I like people to start simple. So maybe start with 2 or 3 products, like the ones I mentioned before, a cleanser, an oil treatment, and a conditioner. Those are easy to do. And then start adding. But once you start adding, or if you have the skill set and the funds to have 6 products right away, you can create categories with your products so people know exactly what step things come in. So if you're creating categories, that means you can have multiple products per category. So in cleansing, you could have a shampoo, a co-wash, a clarifying vinegar herb rinse, and an herbal clay mask. Okay, so you could have all of those in that cleansing category. So this is how it will look on your website. Treatment, you'd have your oils, your deep conditioners, and your daily scalp refresher. Because a lot of times people who have dandruff will have it in certain spots. Like for me, I'll have it on my hairline, really just the edges of my hairline, all around my head. But in the middle, there's hardly ever any dandruff, ever, ever, ever. So go figure that one out. So, having little sprays where you can quickly spritz your spots, your trouble spots. Say if you're wearing your hair in braids, or if you have it in a protective style, or if it's really short and you can kind of get in there in that scalp. Or if you're doing it for a child who maybe has dandruff, you can just quickly spritz through their little twists and braids. That's always a great idea. So treatment, whether it's a heavy treatment or a daily sort of scalp treatment. Conditioning, that's obvious. Leave-in conditioners, rinse out and deep conditioners. Refreshers, so like moisture mists, scalp refreshing mists, finishing oil. So just basically something that to revive the hair between washes, and something light enough to use on a daily basis. And then of course your stylers, because especially for the coarser hair textures, you're going to want to be doing protective styles, and you want something that moisturizes and also gives hold and definition. So I'm just going to drink a little bit of water here. Sorry about that. So ingredient research and mapping. So you decided that you're going to do this dandruff line. You see what the problems are. You see kind of what treatments you would need, and you kind of decide. You pick a treatment. You pick one product from each category, or you pick those first three categories I talked about, or you pick one or two things from all five categories I talk about. Okay, so you decided that I'm going to have, a shampoo, a conditioner, scalp mist, and a protective styler, a protective creme styler or something. So the next thing you want to look at are obviously ingredients. Okay, so let's just say you know nothing about herbs, or maybe you do know a little bit, but you still are it's kind of a conundrum to just go to a website and look through all their offerings and decide which offering you're going to include. There's always so much you can include. So this is a nice way to sort of narrow it down and figure out what you're going to include. Sorry, I was just drinking water again. So you go to any of the sites I talked about. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Curl Mart, and you can go to any sort. You can go to Whole Foods. Just go into an actual store, and don't stick to just curly hair products. Look at straight hair products as well, but look at natural remedies for dandruff or natural remedies for scalp balancing. That's often how it's phrased, because legally you're not really allowed to say dandruff, even though that's what it does. But legally you can't say that this is an anti-dandruff treatment unless it's one of those horrible medicated shampoos in Target. Okay, so you get around it by saying it's a scalp balancing thing, which is true, but scalp balancing is not a medical claim. So there you go. We all know that herbs work, but we've got to obey the law, right? So you look at all these different products in these natural health food stores, on these forums, on these websites, and you look at all the ingredients in them. And you just keep a notebook and you start writing them down. You can write down the product and the ingredients, or you can just sort of write down lists of ingredients. And as you look and you write down these products, you'll start to see similar ingredients popping up again and again and again, right? So I want you to research the benefit of each of those ingredients, okay? Both as claimed by the creator of the product, their website. What are they claiming this product does? What are they claiming this ingredient does, if they're even doing that? And as well as doing research on your own, on the internet, and there's tons of herb books. You can just go to your library and order a whole bunch if you don't want to go on Amazon or something and buy. Just go and figure out, what do these ingredients do? Why are they being included in this product? Okay, so I'm going to give you an example right here. Chagrin Valley Soaps is a great place to get ideas for your niche in terms of herbs. So I have their little site pulled up here. At least I thought I did. Yes, I do. Okay, so let me go here. So as you can see, they have wonderful like skincare and hair care soaps. That's all they do is soap. And they have a few whipped shea butter type things as well. But these are all their shampoo bars. Okay, I'm scrolling slowly in the hope that you can see their selection here. So they have moisturizing ones, hydrating ones, ones that are kind of designed for hair coloring, ones that are scalp balancing, ones that are great for curly hair. Here. So the ones, you should just go and check it out. I'm not really a big fan of washing hair with soap because I think the pH, can be iffy. You definitely want to follow it up with an apple cider vinegar rinse if you do that. But they have such amazing reviews, and this is a company that in their marketing you can tell they have so much integrity. uh, I think it's worth trying. I actually might order some myself and try some out to see how they work. They get a lot of great reviews from people with dandruff. Okay. So if I look at their nettle shampoo bar, okay, so it says a natural shampoo infused with organic nettle. Nettle is a remedy for oily hair, dandruff, and hair shaft breakage. It stimulates the scalp, improves circulation, and helps promote fuller, more radiant hair. And then in it, they add a whole bunch of other things that are great for strengthening hair and that help to control dandruff and minimize hair loss. All right. So one thing you will find is when you are dealing with herbs and oils and botanicals for dandruff, there's often an overlap with the same botanicals, herbs, and oils for hair growth. And one of the reasons why this happens is that, when you stimulate the scalp, when you stimulate circulation in the scalp, it kind of revives the scalp, and part of that action helps with preventing dandruff. And that action also helps with hair growth. So there's a lot of overlap between things that are designed for stimulating hair growth and that are also designed for alleviating dandruff. Okay. So there's some overlap there. And also, a lot of the herbs that are nourishing for the hair also happen to be nourishing for the scalp, which also helps to alleviate dandruff. So, if you make an anti-dandruff line, you can make it as a scalp balancing and hair strengthening tonic for the hair. Okay, so you get to kind of knock out two niches with one stone. You just decide which one you want to focus on in your marketing, or you can do both and just kind of alternate, where you go. So the hair loss people will be like, one day, or the weak thinning hair will be like, one day, and then the dandruff people will be like, hallelujah, the third day. So just, you can alternate it that way. That's another reason why I love this particular niche, because there's so much benefit to creating that sort of mineral rich, scalp stimulating hair tonic for people. So what herbs and essential oils do you find in an anti-dandruff hair strengthening tonic? Rosemary. Rosemary is like one of the kings of hair herbs, in my opinion, of the Western herbs. It really cleanses. It has a sort of a cleansing quality to it. It removes excessive oil from the scalp and from the hair shaft, and sometimes that excessive oil buildup causes dandruff. It stimulates growth. It's antibacterial, antifungal, which is another aspect of the whole dandruff issue. It helps to make dark hair appear darker, which is always nice. I mean, when you're dealing with a lot of people of color with naturally textured hair, some of us may have blondish hair or reddish hair, but most of us have black hair and dark brown hair. So that rosemary in there kind of really brings out the dark textures of our hair in a really nice way. It promotes shine, which is always nice. We always love a little shine in our hair. So you could do something where rosemary is just the main focus, and you would be straight. You would be cool with just that. Other herbs and essential oils, all the Ayurvedic herbs tend to be good for dandruff and for nourishing the scalp, but especially amla, bringraj, and brahmi. Those three would especially be great for dandruff type things. Nettles are so nourishing. They are so full of minerals, so rich in that way. And they also are in a lot of anti-dandruff prescription things. So nettles definitely for hair strengthening and for balancing the scalp. I've seen plantain in some. I didn't include it on this slide, but I'm thinking about it now. And plantain, I might actually type it in right this second, just in case I use the slide again. But plantain helps with that. And that would be plantain leaf, not the actual banana thing. Basil, both the leaf and the essential oil, cedar essential oil, sage leaf and essential oil, mint leaf and essential oil, parsley leaf and essential oil. Yeah, those would be excellent additions to your little anti-dandruff products. And so that's ingredient mapping. So you kind of get an idea of where you want to go. Then you sort of choose based on similar products, what kind of botanicals would enhance that. And then once you've made a list of every single thing that could possibly work, you end up eliminating things based on suitability. You know, like maybe you're making something for children and you don't really want to put sage in something for children, at least not essential oil. Maybe you could use the tea, or maybe you are going to exclude citrus oils. You are going to exclude things that are very expensive, you know, that are not in your budget, or things that you can't get organic, or extracts that you can't make that aren't preserved in a suitable way, for example. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about full disclosure. This is so important that I might do a YouTube video just on full disclosure alone. And before I go into that, I'm going to drink a little bit more water. Sorry, I'm not used to talking endlessly for hours. So I get dry very easily. Just one moment. But basically, with full disclosure, you really want to make sure, this is another place the market is going. The market is not currently there. And by full disclosure, I mean letting everyone who buys your product know fully what every single ingredient, and I mean every single ingredient on your label is. You won't be able to fit every single thing on the label. It's just not possible. You know, when you buy something that says, you know, horsetail extract, you know, a lot of times they won't tell you what that horsetail is extracted in. Is it extracted in oil? Is it in water? Is it in alcohol? Is it in glycerin? You don't know, you know, and if it's less than a certain amount, they are not required legally to disclose it. But you are going to go above and beyond, and you're going to be above board, and you're going to disclose everything. Okay, you're going to disclose maybe even the country of origin of your extract, how it's extracted, how it's preserved. Okay, because sometimes people will have an extract, a really lovely extract, maybe something even wild crafted, and it's preserved with parabens. But it's preserved with parabens at 2%. 2% parabens is effective enough to preserve a product. So when they're buying it from their little vendor, they see that it's preserved with parabens, but they know that they're only including that extract in their formula at 10%. So by the time it gets into your formula, it is way less than 1%. So they're not required to say that their product has parabens. And if they're really sneaky, they may even say their product is paraben free, when technically that's not true. It may be true legally, but technically it's not true. So you really want to be careful where you're sourcing your extracts. You're reading very carefully what's in them, and that you're sharing that with the public so that they can make a choice, because there are still lots of people in the world who know parabens are bad and are still buying products with parabens, or, you know, who could care less. You know, they don't know if parabens are bad, and even if you told them, they wouldn't care, and they would just buy it because they like the way that makes their hair look, you know. But you don't want to sell those kind of products or encourage that kind of culture around consuming things that can end up in our bloodstream and causing us to be infertile and all kinds of other things. So Jessica Alba, the founder of the Honest Company, which I think is a fantastic company. I regularly recommend it to people, for their children, for their babies, and I would use it again. So she had a controversy about her hair and body wash because she claims that it's sulfate free, which technically is true. However, you know, I think she ended up changing the formula. There was something in her, there was a surfactant in her cleanser that was sulfate derived, okay? And it was kind of a form of sulfate. It just didn't look like a sulfate in its name, and it's not something that someone who doesn't formulate could easily identify as a sulfate, but it comes in a group of things. It's a cleanser that is made up of several other cleansers, and it comes in a group of things. So you really have to know your stuff to figure out that that formula does have some trace amount of sulfates in it. Well, someone figured it out and blasted her on the internet for it. And I don't think she's poorer for it. There was a bit of controversy, but it's a very big and successful company, and I think they got through it. And I think that there's so much integrity in everything else that they're doing that the people that support her were willing to forgive it. But this is my thing with learning how to formulate. I'm pretty sure that Jessica Alba did not sit in her kitchen mixing stuff together and figuring things out and, doing lots of research. There was a lot that she farmed out to people. And so she probably wasn't even aware that this thing was in her product, right? So that's why you always want to do full disclosure, because it protects you from making the mistake of not knowing what's in your product. So even if you're working with a chemist, you ask them, what are the spec sheets on this? What is the data? Where is it from? What vendor are you getting this from? So that you can create your website with a full disclosure page of ingredients, right? If you go to, I'll put the link after the webinar to the ingredient list for my Ogbu page, and you'll see that whenever there's a preservative that is preserving an extract, I'll mention what that is, so people can make their choice about whether that's okay for their child or not. So, just make sure you know what is acceptable to you and what is not acceptable to you. What are your yes ingredients and what is the feeling you want associated with your brand? And one way to figure out whether something is an acceptable toxicity level for you is to go to the Skin Deep website. It's actually ewg.org, and they have something called the Skin Deep tool. And what you do is let's just say you have some kind of ingredient that you don't understand what it is. And so you would type that into the little search tool, and it would spit back out a number for you between 0 and 10, 0 being the least toxic and 10 being the most toxic. And these numbers are based on scientific research. So anything from 0 to 4 is considered mild. And then I think 5 to 6 is considered, fair. And then, 7 to 10 is kind of, runaway, pants on fire. It's pretty toxic as hell kind of thing. So you can go to the Skin Deep calculator and figure out whether something is acceptable for you, just even for your personal use, not just for formulating. But if you're formulating, never formulate without this tool. That helps you choose the cosmetic chemicals as well. so you can figure out which ones are safe. And I'll put the link to that in the description box below after the webinar as well. So let's look at the different types of herbal extraction really fast. A lot of times we'll see something that says horsetail extract, lavender extract, and it sounds great. Sometimes it'll even say organic lavender extract, but you want to know what it is extracted in, to know whether it's beneficial for hair, whether it's acceptable for naturally curly or naturally coily hair. Is it going to be drying, even though it is a beautiful botanical tincture, or is it actually going to be nourishing? Or do you want it to be a little drying? Maybe it's in a cleanser. Do you want it to strip just a little bit? Or do you want it to be completely hydrating and coating? So I would say, let's start with the aqueous ones. The aqueous extracts are pretty much just a fancy way of saying strong tea. So you just, it's just like herbs infused in hot water. And then they're, over a period of time, you strain those herbs. And then when it cools down, you add the appropriate preservative so it doesn't become moldy. And then that becomes the extract that goes into your conditioners and shampoos and whatnot. An oil infusion is basically the same thing, but instead of water, you use oil. So you can do it over cold. You can do a cold oil infusion, which is basically herbs in oil in a jar, sitting for a long time, usually by a sunny window, but you can also do it in a dark cupboard, really. And you do it over several weeks, usually a minimum of 6 weeks, and go up to 12 weeks, and you just shake it periodically, regularly. And over time, the oil-soluble components of that herb will seep into the oil. You'll strain it out, and then you'll have a lovely infused oil of rosemary, basil, nettle, marshmallow root, whatever it is you're using. You can also do a faster infusion that involves heat. I've seen people do it in pressure cookers, not pressure cookers, in slow cookers, in a water bath, in a mason jar, and just sort of kind of heat it gently. I've seen people do it in yogurt makers, because yogurt makers have a really low temp, and it's over time, and you can put it in these little jars and, go shopping and come back, and then you have your infused oil. And I've seen people go as far as heating it on the stove with the oil inside and straining it. I think that depending on what kind of oil you're using, it's always best to do a cold infusion wherever you can, because you preserve the qualities of the oil, the healing qualities of the oil, as well as preserving most of the healing qualities of the herb. A lot of things are sensitive to heat. A lot of these phytonutrients in plants, it's like we don't set fire to plants outside. Why do we give them water and make sure that they don't get too hot and all of that? They're living things. So even when they're dried, some of those components stay vibrant, stay alive. And when you add heat to it, you're kind of setting them on fire. So you'll get less of the good stuff in your final product. It's not completely gone. It'll still be effective. And there's some things that are like minerals, more so than vitamins, that are not going to be as affected by heat. But why take the risk? If it's not an emergency, I would just do it the slow way. Maceration, that's basically, blending the herbs in some kind of an oil and straining it. Alcohol or tincture. A tincture basically is an herbal extraction that has happened in grain alcohol, usually over time. So the way you do a cold infusion with oil, it would be a cold infusion with alcohol, and the herbs are left to steep in alcohol over a period of time. Then after that, you strain the alcohol mixture and you dilute that mixture with water, and there you have your tincture. Now, tinctures, can be added to topical preparations like lotions, creams, hair products, shampoos, conditioners, and whatnot. However, I prefer them to be in things like shampoo or in something that where it's okay for something to be maybe a little bit drying. Just because it does have alcohol, I strongly advise against putting tinctures in conditioner or tinctures in sort of leave-in products. If it's just like a little mist, maybe for the scalp, like a scalp refresher or an herbal air rinse or something like that, then, a little bit of tincture is okay. Glycerin is another one that people do extracts in, and that's usually the same way as a tincture. Like they, soak it in glycerin or they macerate it in glycerin and then they dilute that strained mixture with water. There's certain solvents like the glycols, and I'm just going to drink before I talk about them. Please avoid the glycols. Too controversial. The only one you can probably use is 1,3-propanediol. The glycols we're usually used to using or seeing are propylene glycol and butylene glycol. And while those things are very hydrating for the hair, there's a controversy about them being weakening for the hair and weakening for the skin. So it's kind of best to avoid them, and there's just too much mixed research about their actual toxicity. But 1,3-propanediol is something that's made from fermented corn. It's much safer, it's much gentler, it's newer. It's sometimes you'll find it called Zamea, and that's the trade name that the company that invented that 1,3-propanediol as an alternative to glycols, that's the name they came up with it. The company's name is DuPont, Tate, and Lyle, and so Zamea is their trademark. So if you see Zamea, it pretty much is 1,3-propanediol, and different cosmetics companies will call it different things. I think ingredients to die for, I want to say they call it Vagisilk, but I'm not quite sure. But they all have different names for the 1,3-propanediol, which is that. And that works really great in hair. And you could actually do extracts with that. The only controversy with that is that the corn is probably GMO corn. I'm pretty sure that it's not organic corn. So you just have to make that call whether that's an acceptable thing for you to use or not. So there's that. Those are the different kinds of herbal extractions you'll find. And a lot of times these extractions are further preserved with something else. So just make sure that the something else that is preserved with it's not a paraben or anything toxic. And if you're unsure of what the heck it is, just look it up on the Skin Deep scale before you buy it in large quantities and add it to your product, especially if you're going to be doing full disclosure. Okay, so what are the things you're looking out for when you're ingredient mapping? You want to look at country of origin. I personally would stay away from things that were processed in China. I know it's a controversial thing to say, but sometimes their standards of honesty with products, we already know about the controversy that they had with the baby bottles and, the baby food, melamine and baby food. Why risk it, even if it does say it's organic, unless it's a place you've actually been and you've worked with them and so forth. So you kind of really want to look at that. Or if it is of Chinese origin, it needs to be with a company that you've worked with a lot, that you super, super trust their integrity, okay? So watch out about country of origin. Make sure they have claims about freshness, usually people that don't store things forever and ever and ever will make claims about freshness because that's a huge selling point. Make sure they fully disclose what techniques they use. Is something cold pressed? If it's solvent extracted, what solvent are they using? If they haven't said on their website and you email them, are they willing to send you some spec sheets or to tell you in detail what the process is? that sort of willingness to engage and willingness to be honest is a good indicator of how much integrity they have, their professionalism and courtesy. If they're dismissive with you, they're dismissive with their vendors, and that means that they're probably not even sourcing things carefully. So all those things are telltale signs of whether you will actually want to buy products from these people. Because when you're doing full disclosure, you want to be proud of where you're getting things. Are they willing to release spec sheets and datas and all of that about their extracts? They should be. And what are the extracts preserved with? That's my big thing. There's some extracts that are really exquisite, but if it's preserved with a paraben, then no bueno. There's no point in using it. So when you've done this level of research, and one more thing before I go into that. So I talked about all the different ways in which something is extracted a few slides ago. And one of the reasons why you want to know all this, and if you can, and in your entire line, if you can include your main extracts extracted in several different ways, it's a huge selling point, because there's some portions of a plant that are only soluble in water. Some are only soluble in oil. Some are only soluble in alcohol. So if you have different kinds of solvents, so if you have rosemary, for example, as a tincture, as an aqueous infusion, as a infused oil, if you have those three different types, you've covered the full spectrum of the plant, right? So having all aspects of the plant extracted in different ways and different products of your product line becomes a great way of including the whole plant, the essence of the whole plant as a solution in your product line, which is a great talking point. So when you have created something in this way, it's impossible not to get excited, okay? Because you can go into a level of detail about every single ingredient. It has a function, you know why it's there, you know why you put it in there. If you make a mistake with it, maybe you put too much and you learned that, oh, that's too much, you put too little. You have put your heart into it. You have put your foot into that product. You have a personal connection to your product, especially if it's your personal story that inspired the niche. But even if not, just by formulating for that niche in that detailed way, you have so much connection to it. It's impossible for you not to be passionate when you're talking about it. And that passion translates to trust. No one's going to be excited about buying something that you're not excited about. And sometimes it's hard to get excited about something you don't understand, which is what frequently happens when people buy bulk bases. You can say, oh yeah, this conditioner is good, it's great for your hair. But if you don't really understand why it's great for your hair, it becomes very difficult to share. You don't want to go on the camera and be on YouTube. You don't want to do a Periscope. You don't want to write a blog. You don't want to do an interview. You're kind of hemming and hawing at a trade show or at the swap meet or wherever, the flea market where you're selling your stuff, but when you understand your product fully, you're happy to talk about it. And it just comes up casually, not even in a forced way. You're excited, you're pumped, and you're doing it as a service. You're kind of helping people with their issue. People will seek you out to ask for those answers, and then sales can almost be assumed. So your job, once you've reverse engineered yourself for success in this way that I described, your job is just to show up to be of service, show up to answer people's questions. And then you're not going to focus on the sales. You're going to focus on showing up. And showing up is 80 to 90% of the work. Okay. And by showing up, you're going to put your shingle out there. You're going to do your blogs. You're going to do, whatever two platforms of social media work for you, whether it be Pinterest or Facebook or Periscope, podcasts, whatever, right? And in a clever, educated way. I mean, figure out how these platforms work, or hire someone who can help you with ads, or with strategy in some way. And there's tons of free and paid resources available to do that. You can find someone to help you. But you're going to choose two things, and you're going to do those consistently, and you're going to show up and make yourself available to people who need you, to people who have questions. They will raise their hand, and ask for you. Have office hours, where people can call you and just ask questions with no obligation for a sale. Just ask questions about hair loss, ask questions about taking care of your kids' hair, ask questions about, you know, grooming your natural hair when you're an athlete, or whatever your deal is, right? And then that's 80 to 90% of just showing up and being available to serve people. The 10 to 20% is, don't flake on this part, okay? You have to ask for the sale, okay? You have to show up and ask for the sale and say, okay, so you answer their questions, and then at the end of it, you say, and, these are the things that you should do. If you want to explore this, I have products that will help you do this. And if you were to do this, this is the package that I recommend. I really am into people selling packages and not just one-off things. Sometimes if a one-off thing is the most appropriate thing for the customer, by all means, only give them one thing. Don't give them 4 things when they only need one. But most of the time, when you're designing a line, you're designing a comprehensive solution for an issue. So your comprehensive line should come into play. And, offer packages. You make much more money by selling 4 products at one time than selling 1 product at a time. All right, so now I've shown up, and now I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to share with you my offer, which is the conditioner base block workshop. That is happening live again this month, and this may be the last live one, because I'm going to record this one, and depending on how that recording comes out, I probably won't do it again. You'll only have the recording to work with, which will still be, a good deal, and I'll be available for questions and so forth, but it's a completely different thing to be able to ask your questions live. So when asked, what is a conditioner base block? A conditioner base block, it looks like a block of soap, as you can see right here. And basically, it is the main components of a conditioner in a square. And what you do is you cut off a piece, you measure a certain amount, then you measure a certain amount of water. You're going to melt the little bit of conditioner base block. You're going to heat the water. Then you're going to blend them together with a little stick blender. You're going to add preservative, okay? And then you're going to put that in a jar with your brand name on it, and you're going to have a product that is made in 10 minutes, maybe 15, depending, on what you're doing, but really a short amount of time. And it really kind of takes a lot of the science out of it, in terms of that's what a lot of people are afraid of in emotions. They're afraid of, having too many things to add up. They're afraid of percentages and formulas and this and that. The conditioner base block really makes that easy for you. I'm going to be teaching people how to make the base block, how to design the base block, how to pick a niche and reverse engineer, the very ingredients they need to create a successful base block that becomes the base of their line. And the conditioner base block can be used to make not just a conditioner. So you can make a rinse out conditioner, a deep conditioner, a leave-in conditioner, but you can also make creamy styling and moisturizing products, like a moisturizing hair cream, a creme gelée, which is kind of like, the mixture between a moisturizing cream and a gel, a curl cream, a creamy curl refresher, like a really, really light spray, but that is just like a very watered down conditioner. It's great for people who like the max hydration method, because then you can just sell them a base block and then they can make a very dilute conditioner. So instead of adding water, they would add double the water, and then they would have their dilute conditioner that they can use for their max hydration method. So there are so many different things you can do with the conditioner base block. You can make a business of just selling the base block itself. And for people who graduate from the class, I'm going to be creating a directory, because I don't really want to sell base blocks for a living. I may sell a base block in my Ogbu line for moms who want to be able to, make a really high quality conditioner in a little less costly way, because if you have 4 or 5 girls with long, coily hair, that's a lot of conditioner, at $23 a bottle. So, if you're able to make, 3 bottles with an $8 conditioner bar, it's a good deal. So, I might do that, but I'm not going to be selling it wholesale. And there's been a lot of questions of people saying, you know what, I just want to buy the conditioner base blocks. I don't want to make it myself. I just want the blocks. So if you become a person who's selling blocks and I like the blocks you're making, I will definitely, refer people to you. So that's another business model apart from making your own product. Okay. So that's what's happening with the conditioner base block. As a bonus, I am offering people to learn how to make shampoo. Your shampoo tutorial for the conditioner base block workshop will be a written one. Okay. The conditioner base block workshop itself will be a recorded video. And if you buy before the workshop, which is on the 29th, you actually get to see it live. So live on screen, you'll see me make a base block. And then I'll do a lot of talking about how to make a conditioner and so forth. And then when that base block hardens, we'll take that base block and we'll use that to make a conditioner. And all of that will be on screen for you to see and ask questions about as it's happening. So you can see that it's not just something I'm making up. You can see it for yourself. So you'll get a written tutorial for a shampoo as well. And if you choose to upgrade yourself, you're going to get all the things I talked about with the base block workshop. So you'll get the components of a conditioner explained in plain English, proportions of a winning base bar, how to make products with your base bar, a written shampoo tutorial, access to all of that stuff in the private membership site, and forever access, lifetime access to it. You get a private Facebook group for asking questions, and for having community with others. But if you choose to upgrade yourself, in addition to getting all of that, you get free access to February's shampoos, body washes, and alternative cleansers workshop. Okay, so that's also going to be a recorded workshop that's live. So you won't just have the written thing, you'll have the visual thing as well. Plus, this is the real clincher. You get one-on-one help from me. 2 1-hour phone calls, lots of emails, back and forth, email follow-up. I will help you make your shopping list. It's going to save you a lot of money, so you're not going to waste money buying things you don't need. And I will help you find the best vendors, the best prices, and the right amounts to get you started. And I will help you design and formulate your winning base bar. Your base bar is going to be the foundation of your products if you use this method of learning to formulate, which is the easiest method, in my opinion, of learning to formulate. Okay, so I will help you formulate your base bar, and that is going to take you a long way towards getting your line up and running. So The early bird pricing for this workshop, the regular pricing, honestly, is a steal. It really is. But the early bird pricing is only going to be $49. So you pretty much save 50%. The upgrade package, the regular price is a steal. The regular price is $399. Okay. And it's a steal because I usually charge $499 for niche strategy. So for all the stuff I'm doing, helping you pick a niche, helping you pick the ingredients, helping you map out the ingredients and design your base bar. I usually charge $499 for that when people come to me with just for that. But for this workshop, I am charging $399 for that. But if you are an early bird, it's $299. So that means you're getting $200 off for one-on-one help that'll just kind of take you to open for business by the summer if you're serious, okay? Maybe even sooner. So getting that one-on-one help just kind of forces you to move forward more quickly, because I will be there holding your hand and cracking whip if necessary and helping you break things down step by step in a way that is digestible for you, okay? So that is what is happening this week. I will put links to the sales page in the box below. And in the interim, I just want to thank you for joining me today, for taking this time to listen. I know we've been on here for like at least an hour and 15 minutes. And I hope to see you in the workshop this Sunday. And if I don't see you this Sunday, that means you'll be watching a recording of the workshop. I hope to see you in the Facebook group, because you can only be in the private Facebook group if you've joined the workshop. And there I'll be available daily to help you with any questions you have about formulating and so forth. And I just want to add that you have a money back guarantee. I'm so sure that you will love this course. If after watching the workshop, you have 10 days to look through all the materials, all the modules. And if you look through that and you decide that this is not for you, you feel like I didn't deliver, you aren't satisfied in some way, and you've done the work, I will happily refund you, okay? Because I want you to be happy and successful as you move forward. And for the upgrade, you have 30 days because you have to interact with me and decide, you know what, you weren't helpful at all, you were super flaky, or you just were condescending, or this, you didn't make it simple enough, whatever you decide. But I feel I am not that way. So I'm absolutely confident that I can help you. I'm confident that I will take great care of you. And if you're ready to do this, let's do this. I'd be delighted to work with you. And you have that money back guarantee to protect you. All right. So I am sending out blessings to all of you listening. Whether you move forward with me or not, it is more important to me that you move forward. Okay. So join the email list below if you like, and stay in touch with me. Let me know how it's going. You can email me some of your questions and concerns, and I do my best to answer. I do free phone calls, free consults. So, hit me up. But most importantly, if you want to move forward soon, this base block workshop is happening this Sunday, January 29th. And the recording will be up for a short while for sale after that, before it gets thrown in a membership site or in a more all-inclusive expensive program. So good night, all. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. I think I just realized that I may not have shared my screen fully this whole time, that I may have just been talking to the screen and not sharing. I'm so sorry for that, which means that I'll have to do this again sometime. But anyway, I see that I have a few viewers here. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'll catch you another time. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.